If they have the data in their hand, if they know how profitable was the relationship, how many sales they did, so that is when you can truly call an organization to be data driven. That every executive, every leader who needs to make decisions have data driven metrics in their hands, or they're able to get to those metrics very easily.
Welcome to Tech Talent Today, where IT leaders share their tough challenges, creative solutions, and latest insights. You'll discover fresh ideas and inspiration here with your host, IT staffing veteran and president of Claremont Technologies, Jody Kulik-Mayer. And now, here's Jody.
Welcome to Tech Talent Today. I'm your host, Jody Kulik-Mayer. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Joe Vellaiparambil. Joe is the Chief Data and Analytics Officer at Equitable. He's responsible for the creation, implementation, and maintenance of the enterprise strategy that enables Equitable to be a data-driven company. He's a leader with a passion for driving competitive advantage by leveraging data to gain strategic insight. He is most recognized for his outstanding ability to plan and build analytical capabilities that support business strategy, enabling top-line growth and profitability. Throughout his career, he has saved companies millions of dollars through the development of strategies, eliminating unnecessary expenses, and consolidating disparate functions. In his personal time, Joe is an avid gardener of flowers and vegetables, and during the winter, he makes his own wine and spirits. Welcome, Joe. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Jody. I'm excited to be part of your podcast, and I look forward to the discussion. Before we start, I just have to say that the opinions expressed are mine, my personal opinions, and not that of the company.
Wonderful. Okay, great. So I wanted to speak to you today because you were a keynote speaker at the Chief Data and Analytics Officer Conference in May, talking about accelerating a data-driven culture. So what does it mean for a company to be truly data-driven?
So I'd start by saying, if I were to go somewhere, I'd pick up the Google Maps, put the address in there, and find the directions. So if every leader in an organization looks to their data ecosystem before they can make a decision. So if a marketing executive can understand the attribution and can decide where they need to spend money for which media, or if they are a sales executive before they start conversations with a retail agent or a distribution agency, if they have the data in their hand, if they know how profitable was the relationship, how many sales they did, so that is when you can truly call an organization to be data driven. That every executive, every leader who needs to make decisions have data-driven metrics in their hands, or they're able to get to those metrics very easily.
That sounds like a great place to be. So how would someone get to that place? How do they get there?
It is a difficult journey to be truly data-driven. There are various steps that can be taken. One is to ensure that you have good data literacy programs in the organization. And obviously, the content out there in some of the learning portals will help. But developing curriculum that is pertinent to the organization with the data of the organization, that's really important. Making data easily accessible. So if you put in a request for a data, and if it takes 2 weeks for that data request to be fulfilled, then you've failed. And if the data that is available has a dictionary, has an ability for you to analyze it with the tools that are already available, that is a huge step towards data literacy. Organizations are talking about a data marketplace that reduces the friction between business and IT in delivering data and insights. It kind of bridges that gap between your information catalog and the business metrics and the business objectives. So a data marketplace can help. And we always look to the executives in an organization to drive down adoption. I think we are also missing the employees. We are missing the graduates that have come out of the schools recently. They are fairly well educated, they're well versed with data and AI, and that is a constituency that needs to be developed. So that's where the citizen data scientists, enabling them to access the data, enabling them, giving them the opportunity to analyze and solve for business questions is really important. Not all meetings can be attended by the data and IT teams. It is the citizens data scientists that will bridge that gap. And if you hire these highly talented, highly educated, highly trained in AI and data kind of resources and bring them and show them your archaic systems, you're killing their enthusiasm. But if you are able to translate what they have learned and channel their creativity into finding insights, creating an ecosystem where they can thrive, that will be immensely beneficial. Also, working with the executives and exploring what are the data and analytic opportunities is also really important. Having a roadmap and executing and delivering the ROI is also important. And these are some of the steps that can be taken to enable an organization to be truly data driven.
And why is data and AI so critical to the business today?
We've seen so many instances where companies are competing on just data and AI. Look at Amazon, for instance. More than 50% of the sale is based on the concept of buyers who've brought this product have also bought these products. So you go to Amazon today with an idea of a product. You don't know what is it that you want. You start searching, and Amazon drives that search and leads you to a product. Netflix will guide you through what movies you want to watch. So data and AI is a proven technology, a proven capability that companies are beginning to or have already started leveraging. I will give you an example of when I worked at a personal insurance organization. We always believed that the sale was based on our relationship with the agency. So we spent time, our sales executives went over, spent time, we gave them incentives. But later, when the comparative raters, so the agency started using comparative raters, and these comparative raters go out and get competitive rates from close to 10 different insurance companies or producers. And then they bridge over to the company that they want to. And they started sending the data from comparative raters to these insurance companies, and we started analyzing. We found a pattern that we were picked for a sale only when our price was the best or the second best or very close to the best. So then we realized that this sale in a personal insurance company happens only when you can give them the best price. That was a huge revelation. Today, everybody knows that you have an auto insurance, it is to save costs, or a home insurance. Most of the marketing is focused on how to save costs. And today, everybody knows that. But at that point in time, it was a huge realization. And then we had to go back and look at all our projects. We looked at all our initiatives and said, how do we get the maximum cost savings and pass that to the customer? How do we understand risks? How do we ensure that we are able to translate the cost savings to the customer? So data and analytics is really important for companies to thrive, to be able to stay competitive in the current environment.
So how does a company get started with data and AI then?
Again, a great question. I've seen great examples of what not to do. There was this company that hired about 20 different data scientists and set a huge data and analytic organization. And they started driving projects, and they didn't fix the underlying data. So 2 years into spending $20 million, the company didn't realize any ROI. And if you ask the data scientists, they're still waiting for the data. So the process of forming the data, creating the data, and bringing the data, consumable data to the data scientists took so much time. Now, there are two different theories that used to go around. One would say that you need an enterprise logical model, And there are companies that have gone that path and gone 3 or 4 years saying, we are building this huge data warehouse, and until we are done, don't talk to us. And when it's finally done, they realize, no, we missed several requirements, or what we have built was what should have been in the organization 4 years back. Or there is the other set of organizations that would say, let's bring data fit for purpose, let's build it point to point, and then they understand that it is only as scalable as the number of resources they have. So there are concepts called data mesh, data fabric, that have come out recently that provides a kind of a middle path between the two, try and harmonize some of the data that you need from an enterprise perspective into enterprise assets, and build data products for easier consumption. So when you talk AI, I would say that 80% of AI is data. And then it is the modeling, the exploratory data analysis, finding the right models. So that aspect is also important. Getting good data scientists that are able to build these models and understand behavior, understand propensity, and then your IT organization having that nimbleness to implement them and make incremental changes for them. And executives in the organization that are truly receptive to what their data programs are showing, that is also important. So getting there is a phased approach, but it cannot wait 3 to 4 years. It has to start within the first 3 to 6 months. The ROI you have to prove the ROI within the first 3 to 6 months.
Right. That makes sense. So what are the different types of talent that are needed for data and AI?
Again, I'd go back to what I was talking about, the graduates coming out of the universities. I'm truly excited to see the talent that's coming out of the colleges. I had the privilege of working with an actuarial intern a few years back. She had come to me in a one-on-one and said needed some additional work. And at that time, we were struggling to unravel a data warehouse, a legacy data warehouse that was built many years back, probably 30 years back, and it was almost a black box, and there was data coming in from the policy administration systems. And then when I asked this actuarial intern and said, take one of the admin systems, and what is the output that the warehouse is producing and what is the input coming from the warehouse? Can you just map the two? She was able to do that in less than a month. And I think if it was one of the consulting companies, it would have been 3 to 4 months and would have been close to $300,000 to $400,000. So I'm excited about the talent that is coming in. So to run a true AI program, I think you need to have solutions consultants. So these are domain experts that would work with the business, get the ROI, champion the creation of data and analytic initiatives across the organization. The second one is your data engineers, the data manipulators, the data analysts who understand the value of data. Then there is the data scientists that are predictive analysts that can create models. And then your IT organization that is mostly the architecture and your ability to operationalize these models. And obviously, the data visualization experts are also important. But those tools have become so intuitive that any one of these roles can pick up those talent.
Right. And the talent market is so competitive these days. So what can you do to attract these people to your company and your team?
That question is so important. We feel that we bring in these resources, train them, and then they quickly move on to larger organizations, whether it's the FANG companies that pay a lot and we're not able to keep up. That is a really good question. So what we try to do is to give them the opportunities, allow creativity, and give them the opportunity to explore the data, have that satisfaction that they're making a difference for the organization. Also, one of the motivating factors for data scientists and other technical experts in this area is newer technologies. So there are a lot of technologies that disrupt each other, and staying on top of that also helps retain the good talent.
Right, because you have to attract them and then retain them. So it does seem that you're covering both those areas with the exciting projects and the new technology. So that probably helps in both the attraction and retention. So how did you get interested in data and IT? How did you get into this area?
Technology always fascinated me. So right out of college, I got into a company that was implementing ERP. And from there, I graduated to data. So always fascinated with how technology can disrupt certain businesses. Take, for example, Airbnb that has disrupted the hotel hospitality industry, or Uber that has disrupted the taxi and the cab industry there. Look at the social media. I couldn't imagine that I would be in contact with kids that are my classmates from my elementary school. It is completely revolutionized how I say buy products. It has enriched our lives. So technology was always an important factor, and data and AI has always been at the forefront of technology in the disruptive technology category.
So, Joe, I was wondering, when you came to the U.S., was it easy to adapt to the culture?
I think it was the culture was easy, but coming from a different country, I always I don't know if it is it's right when I go and look back at some of the work that I've done. I always thought I had to be better. I always thought that I had to work harder. I always, when there were technology, I always read more and wanted to prove to my leadership that I was quite capable of understanding and quite capable of providing the kind of insights that they were looking for. I'll give you an example. When I was hired in an organization at Hartford, there was a parking garage, and I drove in the first day at about 8:15, and the parking garage, I couldn't find any spot in the first or the second level, and the third level was fully occupied. I managed to get a spot there, and then I realized that folks were coming in earlier than 8:15. So the next day I came in at 7:45, and I still managed to get only on the second level. And the third day onwards, I started coming in a little earlier than 7:30 and getting a spot at the lower level to make sure that I was competitive, that I wanted to prove to myself that I was working hard, and I was as good as everybody. And that probably helped me stay abreast of the technology, stay abreast of the development, and provide greater support to the organizations that I work for.
Right. It shows that you are totally driven. And I think it's so interesting that the parking garage was the clue as to when people came in. I don't know if I would have even thought of that, but that's fantastic. And so when you came here, did you come here with your family? Did you meet your family here?
I went back and I came here a year earlier. My wife, Tessie, she works for Mass Mutual. I have my older one, Kevin. He graduated from NYU and he's interested in pursuing his law degree. He's preparing for LSATs, but at the same time working for the governor of Connecticut's re-election campaign. The younger one, Anthony, is going to 8th grade.
So we have a driven family, not just you. Everybody seems driven. So what do you do to relax? What do you do outside of work?
I like to bike on weekends. I like to go on long bike rides. In summer, I spend my time in the garden. Lots of flowers, roses, lots of different varieties of roses, hydrangeas, zinnias, marigolds, lots of flowers, and also have a good vegetable garden. Grows a lot of vegetables, spend a lot of time there. In winter, I brew. I like to make wine and some spirits. So that takes up a lot of my time in winter.
Wow, that's so interesting. So you brew wine locally at your house?
Yes, and I have a nice label for that, and my friends do like, and then they do ask for that when I visit them or when they come home.
That must make you very popular. So, do you have any parting thoughts for our audience?
What has worked for me is try to be the best at what you're trying to do. give it your best. It doesn't matter what it is, but give it your best and try to stay abreast of technology. It's a disruptor and it'll continue to be a disruptor.
Joe, I really enjoyed our conversation today. Thank you so much for making the time. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Jody. I enjoyed the conversation, and thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to Tech Talent Today, brought to you by Clearmont Technologies IT Staffing and Search. You can find out more at clearmonttech.com. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and share. See you next time.